Lately, I haven't been posting any long form video on YouTube or other platforms because I've been doing a lot of the YouTube shorts and Facebook Reels. The one reason is it doesn't take as much time. I can get the message out there that I want to say and, meet some interesting people, have some conversations with them. But I did a short video, like 45 seconds on my last drunk. And surprisingly, it drew about 25,000 people. And it made me think, well, maybe there's people out there that are either interested in, somebody's story about the last time they got fucked up, or maybe they're at that point where they want to decide should they stop drinking or drugging. So that's what this video is going to be about. It's going to be about my last drunk, and it was enough. It wasn't the worst drunk I've ever had, but it was definitely the one that made me say, oh shit, it's fucking over. And that's exactly what I said. That's fucking over. I can't do this anymore. So what had happened was, my wife was up in upstate New York with my youngest daughter, and we're going back in August of 1992. She was up visiting family with my youngest daughter. My oldest daughter was with me, and I had a couple of friends from upstate New York. One had moved down to Daytona. I was a little farther south in a city called Melbourne, and a good friend of mine, a guitar player, was there visiting them. So I got a phone call, and they said, hey, we want to come down and see you. We'll be there on Saturday. And I was like, great. I haven't seen them since I left. It was probably about 9 months, 10 months at the time since I saw the guitar player. We had played together for a while, but we were always drinking together. So I got a sitter for my oldest daughter because I knew that there was going to be some drinking, and she was only 6 years old at the time. And of course, I went and got some alcohol, got some beer, got some liquor, and I was getting ready for them to come down. And they said they were going to be there around noontime on Saturday. So about 11 o'clock, of course, I had to crack open my beer. Figured I'd get my buzz going before they got there, get a little jump start on them. Well, there was no cell phones then. So noon came, they weren't there. 1 o'clock came, they still weren't there. 2 o'clock came, they still weren't there. In the meantime, I'm drinking beer left and right. And then I realized it was about 3 o'clock. I had bought a 12-pack, probably should have gotten more. And then half of it was already gone. So I said, well, listen, I'm going to go get some more beer. So I went up to the store and got a 12-pack. Shouldn't have driven. I already had 6 beers in me. And it wasn't the smartest thing to do. But when you're fucking drinking, you're not thinking, right? So get the beer. I come back, and it was probably 10 minutes after I got back, I get a knock on the door. They're here. So, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. They were with their wives. 2 of the guys brought their wives and one of the children. And then the party was on. It was probably about, 4 o'clock. And all I can remember on that day was we laughed and listened to music, and we laughed some more, and we were drinking. And there was a lot of drinking. And back then, I was smoking cigarettes. One of the people there smoked, I think. Yeah, one of the wives were smoking. So there was a lot of smoking and drinking going on. And because there was so much partying going on, I didn't want them to drive back, and they didn't want to drive back. So they spent the night. So everybody spread out, and, we went to sleep. I woke up the next day on the hallway floor in my apartment. I had no fucking idea how I got there or why I was on the floor. Well, everybody got up and started to, get ready for the day. I was sicker than a dog. There was a pool in my apartment complex. So I went down to the pool because they had a restroom there. And I used the restroom because I was sick. I was sick, and I don't want, really them to know. But I think they knew. But anyways, we didn't talk much. they said they were going to go for breakfast and they would be back. And I was like, all right, I'll see you later. And again, I was so fucked up from the night before. So a couple hours go by, 3 hours go by. I'm like, where the fuck did they go? Man, for breakfast. Probably about 4 hours later, I got a phone call, and the wife of my friend told me that I acted like a complete asshole. And I was like, you got to be kidding. Because I didn't remember much, but I said, okay, I don't know what to tell you except I'm sorry, but so I was like, you got to be shitting me. And now I'm thinking, oh God, my wife's up in New York. She's going to be getting a phone call, and they're going to let her know that I got shit-faced down here and, don't remember anything. So this is great. So I remember after that, I went to the bathroom and I looked in the mirror and I'm like, you got to stop this, man. You got to stop. How many relationships, how many friendships are you going to ruin? How many relationships with women are you going to screw up? My wife and I were having, now she's my ex-wife, of course, but we were having problems anyways at the time. And I'm like, you got to knock this shit off, Joey. Enough's enough. And I can remember I had tears coming, down my cheek, rolling down my cheek. And I'm like, man, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. And I had just turned 32 years old, but I had been drinking heavy since I was 18, but I started drinking when I was 12. That's all in the book that I wrote, so I'm not going to go into it now. But so I had a lot of years drinking and partying and playing music, chasing women, all that shit. Now it's come to this, just pissing off some more people, close friends, and I was like, I got to stop. I really have to fucking stop. So I said, that's it, I'm done. From this point on, I'm not going to drink. And I made a promise to myself. But I was shaking. And I was smoking at the time. And I'm like, I got to get something to drink. My throat's all dry. So I go to the refrigerator, I open it up, and there were 4 cans of beer. And then I remembered the promise I just made to myself. You're not going to drink again. You're not going to drink. It's over. You're done. You fucked everything up. You're not going to drink those. But then I said, I got to, man. I got to. I'm going to make a different promise to myself. I'm going to drink those 4 cans of beer. And when they're done, they're done. Now, in the meantime, luckily, my daughter was still staying over with a friend of mine. So I sat there at my kitchen table, popped open the first beer, and started drinking. And for the next hour, I just sat there drinking 1 beer, the second beer, the third beer, and then the last beer. Well, all the while, I just kept on replaying some good times that I had drinking, but mostly I played the bad times. How I fucked up, how I got arrested, how I got a DUI, how I got into fights, how I had some really nice girlfriends that I screwed up because of my drinking. The relationship with my family, luckily my family was always there for me. Jobs, couldn't hold a job, and all of this shit. And I finally said, I got to end this. So after that 4th beer, it was like I was saying goodbye to some friends. Like 4 cans of beer were my friends. And I said to them, this is it. It's been nice knowing you, but we're through. And I grabbed those 4 cans, put them in a bag, walked out of my apartment down to the dumpster, threw the bag in, and I could hear the cans clanging on the bottom of the dumpster. And I can remember walking back to the apartment thinking, now what the fuck am I going to do? And then all of a sudden it dawned on me. Somebody that I knew in Florida had told me that she was 10 years sober because we knew the person, and she had some family members that we would get together and drink. And I was told that she was, sober for 10 years, and she said that she did it through AA. And I was like, well, I better give AA a call because I have no idea what the fuck I'm going to do. I didn't know anybody in Florida, so I went through the phone book, found out where the closest AA was. I gave them a call. Now, this was on a Sunday. They told me that they had a meeting Monday at noontime. So I said, all right. So that was my plan. I was going to go to AA the next day. So I didn't hear anything from my wife, which was a good sign. So the next day, I took my daughter to school. And then later on in the morning, it was around 10 o'clock that I walked into an AA room because they said it opened up at 10. But once I got there, they said the meetings didn't start until noon. And I said, all right, I'll be back. And I'm thinking, I ain't going to go back. I'm not going to go back. Because it took everything I had to walk through those doors the first time. And there was nothing going on. So at about 11:45, I found myself in the parking lot thinking, what the fuck did you do with your life? Look what you're doing, man. You're going to AA. You're going to quit drinking? Seriously? And I just knew I didn't have a choice, man. I couldn't pick up another drink. I didn't want to go back to the miserable life that I was leading because of the drinking. Now, don't get me wrong. I had a lot of fun when I was drinking. And I could sit here and do many videos about all the fun I had drinking. But I could also do a few videos about all the trouble I got into and how lucky I was to be alive because of what I was doing when I was drinking. So, got the courage to walk back in, and I sat down and I listened in the meeting. And somebody told me, don't drink today, come back to a meeting tomorrow, and the rest is all conversation. Now, I go into a lot more of my story in this book. Don't drink or use no matter what, and no matter what means no matter what. But I did meet some really nice people while I was there. I did go back the next day, and then I continued to go back. The main reason was a couple of reasons. So let me backtrack a bit. So the second day of AA that I went to AA was on a Tuesday. My wife was coming back into town with my little one. So I had to pick him up at the airport. So I had already gone to an AA meeting that day, and I went and picked her up. She got in the car. My little one was only like 4 years old. She came running up and hugged me. Daddy, I miss you. And, it was great. And my wife didn't say much, which, okay. So we get in the car. I'm driving. And next I hear, so I heard you had one hell of a weekend. I'm like, oh, shit. I said, well, yeah. I said, did you get a phone call or something? Oh, yeah, I got a phone call. Yeah, I got a phone call. I said, well, listen, I had to take a real, long, hard look at, myself and everything. And I said, yesterday I went to an AA meeting. This afternoon, just before I came to pick you up, I went to another AA meeting, and I'm going to go, continue to go. I'm done drinking. Yeah, right. Okay. And she just shut up. And part of me was thankful that she just shut up because I really didn't want to get into a discussion with her, an argument with her. Well, the next day, or a couple days later, she was working, and I was already in bed by the time she got home. She worked at a restaurant. She wakes me up and says, "Hey, listen, I want a divorce." I'm like, "What?" She goes, "I want a divorce." I said, "Stop, okay? Go to bed, come to bed, and we'll talk about this in the morning." So morning came, we didn't say shit. So I just figured, she's just blowing steam, She might have went out with her girlfriends that night or whatever, and would have, came back pissed off. Next day or 2 days later, I get served divorce papers. Because when my ex-wife wanted to do something, she did it quick. So I found myself within a week quit my drinking, going to an AA meeting or meetings, finding out my wife wanted a divorce, to getting served papers saying we are going to get divorced. And then she tells me, this was in August, or September, I'm sorry. Then she tells me that she's going to stay with me until the middle of November, and then she's going to take the kids up so they'll be there for Christmas. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So for 2 or 3 months, we lived together, which was a miserable existence for me, because every day I'd come home and she'd have boxes packed away, little by little. My daughters kind of knew what was going on, and I kept thinking to myself, what the fuck am I going to do, man? I mean, okay, if my wife was leaving, I could handle that, but not my girls. And so every time I was with them, it seemed like they knew what was going on because they were clinging to me, especially the younger one. There was one time I was watching TV and she would always like to lay on my chest. And one night she just looks up at me and says, "I'm going to miss you, Daddy." And I just broke down right there. But, I remember she went to bed and I said to my wife, "Are you going to keep doing this shit? What the fuck? We came down here. I was going to film school. I said, I haven't drank now in 2.5 months, 3 months. Just, let's see if we can work it out." And fuck, we didn't work it out. November the 13th of 1992, it was Friday, that I had to pack up a U-Haul truck, put her in the truck with my 2 daughters, ages 4 and 7, kiss my girls goodbye, and watch them drive away at about 8 o'clock at night, back up to upstate New York. And let me tell you something, that tore me apart. That tore me apart. I was on the phone with my family. I was in real bad shape, but I didn't pick up a drink. The next day, the fucking next day comes, and there was a meeting at noontime. It was a Saturday, and I'm like, I got to get to the meeting. It was about like 10 o'clock. I was like, all right, I've got to keep busy. All I can think of was my wife, or at that time, she's still my wife, is on the road with the kids. They had some car trouble, somebody told me, or some trouble with the U-Haul. I didn't know what was going on. My daughters are with her. So I said, I'm going to clean the apartment to give me something to do. So I went into the kitchen, opened up the kitchen cabinet under the sink to get some cleaning supplies, because I figured that's where my wife would keep them, because I didn't do the cleaning. And lo and behold, all the way in the back was a bottle of vodka. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. It must have been there since my last drunk. So I grabbed the vodka, put it on the counter, and I started to think, you know what? You deserve this. You deserve the drink, man. Fuck it. Nobody will know. Fuck everything. You tried for 3 months. You're doing the right thing, and where did that get you? Got you no place. So I grabbed a glass. I poured the vodka in. I can remember smelling it. And then I just remembered the one thing that this guy Jack said, don't drink and go to a meeting. And the rest is all conversation. And I remember I just said, fuck it. I poured a drink down the drain, poured the bottle of vodka down the drain, and got the fuck out of my apartment. And went right to an AA meeting where, I told people what was going on, what just happened, and I got through it. And all the time after that, every time I thought about picking up a drink, I thought back about my last drunk. Every time. Because my last drunk was August 29th of 1992. I found out my last four beers, were on August 30th of 92. And on August 31st of 1992 is when I walked into AA. I've been sober ever since. But no matter what's happened in my life, and when times got tough and I thought about picking up a drink, I'd go back to my last drunk. And I said, I'm not going to go relive that shit again. I'm not going to put the alcohol in me because I know what will happen. I'll enjoy it. I'll drink a lot of it. And I'll probably get in trouble. Now, if I didn't get in trouble right away, sooner or later, I'd be getting into some trouble. But I said, I'm not going to do it. And I made a promise to myself and to my daughters. Well, I didn't make it directly to them, but the promise was for them never to see me drunk. And they never did. And still to this day, they'll never see me drunk. But for me, my last drunk is what has kept me sober all of these years. Also understanding why I shouldn't put alcohol in me. So when I talk to people about, what they need to do when it comes time for them to decide if they're going to stop drinking or drugging. I wasn't into drugs. They have to get to that point. It doesn't have to be the worst fucking bottom. It just has to be at that point where you just go, I can't live like this anymore. I can't keep destroying myself and my family or, hurt friends and different relations. I can't do that. Once you get there, then you got to make a decision. What are you going to do? Now, for me, I went to AA, and I stayed there for about 3 or 4 years. Met some great people, but then I got out. There was some stuff I liked there, some stuff I didn't like. Who gives a fuck? There was a place for me to go where nobody was drinking, and I met some really nice people. And some of them are still friends of mine after, 33 years. So go there. Go to a church, all right? If you need help, go to a church. Go see somebody. I'm sure you know somebody who has been sober for a while, or maybe they did drugs and they put it aside. Go talk to them. Go find a way to get yourself some help if you need help. Now, I know people who put alcohol and drugs away, or down, I should say, and just walked away from it. That's it. They didn't go to any support group or whatever, and they're fine. But whatever you have to do, you have to do it. But get one thing in your head. Get that one memory that makes you sick to your stomach when you think about what you did. And keep it there long enough to make sure you don't put another drink or a drug in you. Because as the days go by, as the days go by, it gets easier and easier and easier. Well, this is probably the longest video I've done in a long time. But anyways, that was my last drunk. And again, if you're having problems and you think you need to get some help, go get some help. And remember what I always say. Don't drink or use no matter what. And no matter what means no matter what. I'll catch you the next time. Bye-bye.